Hi everyone, how are you doing? I hope every one of you is having a good Friday afternoon. Well, according to my time zone, but maybe because you're going to be listening to this in different time zones, what I said doesn't really make sense. So never mind. Um, but anyway, we have an excellent essay that we published on Tighat today. It is by Dawit Kabede, and it's essentially his assessment of two things. Number one, of the Pretoria Agreement between the Tigray government and the Ethiopian regime in November. I think it was the 2nd of November of 2022, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, that's right. Actually, that in the first sentence of the essay, and number two, on the performance of the interim administration of Tigray and of its president of Getachew Reda. So it's been 6 months since he was made president, and Dawood gives us his assessment of the performance of the interim government. For those of you who might not know Dawood, although I don't think there's anyone among you who might not know Dawood, but is one of the most prominent. I wonder whether he would like to identify as Ethiopian journalist or Tigrayan journalist. Maybe let's say Ethiopian journalist just to be safe. I think he's the managing editor of Auramba Times, and Auramba Times was one of the most read either newspaper or magazine. Maybe I should have checked these details before I started recording. But anyway, one of highly respected Ethiopian journalists, and I thought I would just take you through some of the points that he has made in the essay. I think he has made some solid points in the essay. I don't entirely agree with everything that he has said, but that doesn't mean that I don't think he has made some convincing points and arguments as well. So regarding what he calls sort of dividends of the agreement between the Ethiopian government and the Ethiopian regime in Nairobi, Dawit mentions two things. First, he says that a lot of Tigrayans, and especially children and mothers, have received some sort of relief, humanitarian relief, because until the agreement was signed, Tigray was totally besieged, and nothing was getting into Tigray. So a lot of people, children and women, were starved. But following the agreement, aid had started to trickle in until, and this is a point that Dawit doesn't mention, USAID and WFP. I think two of the biggest aid providers in Ethiopia decided to suspend provision of aid following a massive amount of aid diversion by the Ethiopian regime and Eritrean regime, and I think to a degree Tigrayan authorities, shamefully. So Dawit makes the point that the agreement has resulted in people, children and mothers, getting some sort of support, humanitarian support, and I think that is is an inarguable point. There is no doubt that the humanitarian situation has marginally improved, but only marginally. And still today, there are a lot of people starving in Tigray. And in fact, if you really want to know the data and statistics about hunger and other related situations, you could read the updates by Duke Burbridge on our website. We have reported the humanitarian situation, and the picture that you get if you read the reports is that humanitarian. There is actually Duke uses the term humanitarian meltdown. So there still is a humongous amount of suffering in Tigray. But Dawit makes the point that the Pretoria Agreement has resulted in some people getting some respite, and I think that is an excellent point. And the second point that Dawit makes is one that maybe some of you might not entirely agree. I think it would depend on your point of view. But he says that the agreement between the Tigray government and the Ethiopian regime didn't sit well with a lot of actors in Ethiopian politics, from the Eritrean regime to some of the Amhara extremists. And he mentions Andargachew Reda and the people around him, and how they have now abandoned Abiy because they were not happy with the agreement, because they saw the agreement as a partnership pact between the Tigray government and the Ethiopian, between Abiy and the Tigray government. And that has sort of alienated Eritrea and the Amhara extremists and other political forces who wanted a total destruction of Tigray. And that has meant that the coalition of the genocidal forces has now completely fallen apart. And I think to a degree, at least on a surface reading, is something with which I agree. I think the Pretoria Agreement has spelled an end to that alliance, to that coalition of extremely cruel and genocidal forces. But there is a part of me who thinks that everything that they seem to be doing on the surface could just be that, on the surface, and actually, behind the scenes, they are a team working together. It's just that they are the semblance of this agreement is a deliberate attempt to sort of let the storm pass. So I'm not sure that I entirely agree with Dawit that the disintegration of the forces has been complete, but that is one excellent point that Dawit makes, anyways. That the genocidal forces, the coalition, has fallen apart. So that is regarding the Pretoria Agreement and what it has meant to the various disparate, otherwise completely incompatible actors that joined forces to annihilate Tigray. And the second subject that he raises in the essay is about the interim regional administration of Getachew Reda. And Dawit makes a number of excellent points in that respect. He says that there was a lot of optimism and hope when Getachew came to power, that he will manage to change a lot in Tigray. And Dawit says that on the whole, Getachew and his administration have been a disappointment. And I think that is an excellent point. Now, Dawit says that some of the reasons why the Tigray government hasn't really lived up to the expectations beyond the control of the Tigray government. For example, the withdrawal of Eritrean forces from Tigray, for instance, couldn't really be couldn't really be expected to be done by the Tigray government because it simply doesn't have the mandate to do that. Because it's, for all the demand for more autonomy and stuff, Tigray still remains to be part of Ethiopia, and there are things that are only left to the federal government, and the regional governments doesn't have the sort of the authority to demand certain things. And also, Dawo said that the issue of justice and accountability is also very difficult to pin on the Tigray government, because it depends on the Ethiopian government and on the international community. But Dawood said that the Tigray government has failed in ensuring law and order in Tigray. Dawood said that there is a real fear that there could be a complete breakdown of law and order in Tigray. And I think that he mentioned a couple of examples. So for instance, he mentions one grenade attack in Mekelle, and he mentions the murder of the killing of a young woman in the streets of Mekelle in broad daylight. So, and he said that the Tigray government is completely to blame for those aspects, for failing to ensure law and order, for failing to protect people. And he also says that although the expectation following the Pretoria Agreement was that there will be an all-inclusive interim government in Tigray, that hasn't really materialized. And in fact, according to Dawit, actually this is something that there is no disagreement about. Tigray political parties, the opposition parties, have been totally excluded from the process. There has been a sort of a sham attempt to include some people, but I think the TPLF has totally dominated everything. And Dawood says that is something that shouldn't have happened, and so that is one aspect for which Dawood is critical. And in terms of release of prisoners and high-profile political prisoners and military personnel of Tigrayan descent who have been jailed by Abiy Ahmed, Dawood says that Getachew should have pushed more for their release, and he said that Getachew should try to create some sort of rapport with Abiy Ahmed, and he should personally push Abiy to release these political prisoners. And I think that is an excellent point, because and also Abiy is someone who likes to be told that he's in charge, to be told that if he wanted to do something, he could do it. And maybe that is what Getachew should do with Abiy. He should just deal with him on a personal basis. And I think that is an excellent point. And if Getachew was listening to this, that would be one of the things that I would advise him to work with Abiy on a personal level. So those are some of the points that Dawood raises in the essay. It's an otherwise excellent essay. He talks about the need for urgent return of displaced Tigrayans. Also, that he said that the Tigray government has failed. The Tigray government should have been more firm and more urgent in demanding for the return of Tigrayans in IDP, for the restoration of Tigrayan territories, and for the reconstruction of infrastructure, because Tigrayan infrastructure has been totally destroyed. And Dawood said that the Tigray government should have approached the international community to provide support, financial support, and help in the reconstruction of Tigray. But Dawood correctly says that the Tigray government has been very lackadaisical in these aspects. It hasn't really been making any sort of noises either to the Ethiopian government and or to the international community. And the picture that Dawit paints regarding the Tigray interim administration is one that doesn't really have any energy and enthusiasm for getting stuff done. But there appears to be an atrophying of just everything, and a sense of apathy in the political leadership, and of course, if the political apathy in the political leadership is going to rub off to the people, and generally that is a perfect recipe for decline as a people. And a number of other excellent points that I'm sure I haven't covered. So please go to Ghat. It's on the front page, on the home page, I should say, and give it a read. I'm sure you're going to like it. And maybe if I could get hold of Dawit, actually, I would like to interview him for Ghat, for him to sort of expand on and elaborate some of the points, and for him and I to talk about the things where I don't completely agree. And I think that would make for an interesting conversation. So I'm going to try to do that. But that, I think that should be enough for now. And please, I think I have started live streaming, and still waiting to get the logistical aspects of it right, but we're going to do more live streams from now on. I think this is recording and publishing it later is not the best way to go about these things. So we're going to go live so that you'll have the opportunity to directly engage with us, and we can have a conversation, and we can have a bit of a discussion. So we're going to try to do that. But in the meantime, if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe, and please do like the contents that we publish. Of course, if you actually like them, you shouldn't pretend to like stuff that you don't like. And also, if you want to help Ghat financially, you could now give one-time donation, or you could become members. I think just have a look around the channel, and there are a number of things that you could do if you are interested in supporting Ghat, and if you believe in the work that we are doing, shouldn't be forced to support something that you don't really think is doing something useful. And so that is that for today, and bye bye.